And we are live. So, welcome to episode 266 of An American Werewolf in New Jersey. I am the American Werewolf. In the house tonight, we've got Eric from Hey Internet. Eric here.
Glad to be
Thanks
here.
for joining us, man. Yeah, it's good to see you.
Yeah.
And we've got John K. Alvarez, a.k.a. Sherlock Holmes, Sherlock's younger brother.
Yeah, he was the smart guy. I went to the parties.
Yeah. So he smokes. Holmes smoked a pipe. John smokes cigarettes. So okay.
Well,
I have been a Sherlock Holmes fan for as long back as I can remember, and one of the reasons that I was because in the 80s when I went to high school, some people are Doctor Who fans. As you all know, I was a huge Dark Shadows fan. And when you came home from work, when I came home from school, there was an opportunity to watch this horror series every day, 5 days a week. So I was like, oh, okay, vampire, no problem. Sign me up. But one of the things that my local PBS affiliate also had was a regular showing of Sherlock Holmes, the old Jeremy Brett series.
Yeah.
And I was just fascinated and enthralled by how awesome his interpretation was. And then this was in the 80s. So in 1985, when young Sherlock Holmes came out, I was right there in the theater. And we're talking 40 years later. Here we are still talking about it. Barry Levinson's Young Sherlock Holmes. Shall we get it going?
The game is afoot.
Boogie woogie.
Attaboy.
So, as much as humanly possible, I would encourage any and everyone, first of all, always and never hesitate to read the original Conan Doyle stories because they are just irreplaceable masterpieces. Just every single one of them are just fantastic. So, get yourself to a bookstore or a library and sit down and read some of the stories. But I'm enough of a fan of this that this is only actually, I misspoke. This is only the second time I saw it. The first time was in 1985. So on the strength of that, years ago, I ended up purchasing this copy of it and just never cracked it again. This movie is currently playing on Pluto TV. So I would encourage everyone to give it a shot. Look at it and enjoy it. It is an enjoyable film. Eric, what did you think of Young Sherlock Holmes?
I first saw it in probably 7th or 8th grade English class after we were reading some Sherlock Holmes.
Sure.
I didn't mind them. I mean, I haven't read the actual works probably since high school. They were fine. They weren't my thing, but I didn't hate them type of deal. But I fell in love with this movie the first time I saw it, and it's one of those films that where whenever it was on TV, I would always make the time to, make the time to watch it. I eventually bought the VHS. I now have the DVD, and anytime I can talk about it, I love to. When I had my weekly podcast, that was one of our subjects.
Okay.
Just lots of fun. I think the characters are more interesting on screen than they are on the page, in my opinion, and I think that's based on a lot of the performances and some groundbreaking CGI at the time.
Okay. All right, fair enough. John, quick summary. What did you think of the film? What do you think of it? You go back far enough to remember when it first dropped.
Oh yeah, and this movie is incredibly endearing to my heart. I introduced a lot of my nieces and nephews to Sherlock Holmes instead of through the books because they were a little too young. I introduced them through this movie. I think it's a great introduction, especially to the style of movies of Sherlock Holmes. The tribute, the way they were Watson and Holmes were portrayed in the earlier movies and in the 30s and in the 40s and in the 50s. But since 1990, there was a Sherlock Holmes weekend has been happening here in Cape May, New Jersey. At one point in time when I was involved in it, it was considered number 2 in the world according to Sir Arthur Conan Doyle's website, because people would come down and try to figure out an original mystery. We have had arguments and discussions that have halted the show about this movie, Young Sherlock Holmes, how much these true fans of Sherlock revere it. And because they say it's such a loving tribute to those two main characters, especially because there really isn't an origin story. In the first book, they meet,
right?
Type deal.
Okay.
But this is a lovely. I mean, it really is. I watched it again today, and I laughed where I normally laughed, and I even cried where I normally cry on this. It still gets to me many, many, many years after it's been out.
I had the privilege of teaching it to a 4th grade class of The Hound of the Baskervilles. And of course, that was a greatly abridged version for for their particular reading level, but the kids loved it. And I was able to show them a Jeremy Brett interpretation of The Hound of the Baskervilles, which they were I had to show, I think, over 2 days, but they were just enraptured by what was going on. And I should mention that this is available, I said it before, on Pluto TV, but the entire Jeremy Brett catalog is currently available on Tubi. So if you'd like to catch some, I have to buy that one of these days, just buy the whole collection. I think they sell it for like $50 on DVD. I never got around to it. But this reminds me very much of something you would see like at a local stage production, like someone with an idea. Let's do Sherlock Holmes, but let's do something like an original mystery. And obviously being fans, let's play around and respectfully craft an origin story. I think it's very well done. I guess my only concern is that it might only appeal to people like us who are of a certain age, or the endearing Holmes fan who, just by default is like, yeah, okay, I'm going to watch this. As I was watching, I cynically thought, and I hope that I'm wrong, that no kid would watch this today, or very few would, because of the dated effects. They'd be like, this is stupid, and, turn it off. Unfortunately, missing out on something quite good.
I think that depends on the kid and the movies they grew up with, because I show my daughter a lot of stuff from the 80s that has the dated effects. I've shown her some, she's watched, she loves stop motion animation. So she really she didn't sit down and watch the entire film, but she watched a lot of the original King Kong from the 30s. You know what I mean? And she had no problem seeing those effects. It also depends on the child.
I also think anybody who likes the Indiana Jones films, especially the first 3, they had that same type of feel, that rollicking adventure.
Well, that's what I was saying. I think it would have to be a particular type of kid.
Yeah.
I think the general audience of young people nowadays, this wouldn't catch on. But that's okay, because sometimes, when things are smaller, it's better.
That's okay. We had this. Kids have that fucking Minecraft movie nowadays.
Yeah,
so it is what it
is. Oh, yeah.
So,
and I judge them not.
I do. Yeah. Well, no.
I
wouldn't know what a Minecraft movie really.
I think of a Mind Palace. Back to Sherlock Holmes. Mike, you're out, man. I can't hear you.
No volume, big guy. Yep, and now you're muted.
Can you hear me now?
Now we can. Yep.
Okay. Where was I?
Your last sentence was muted.
This has a solid cast.
Yes.
Yeah.
Not a lot of big names though. Actors, you would think that these were big, because you had Steven Spielberg Presents. This was Amblin Entertainment, and I miss the days of like Amblin Entertainment, because you knew you get something good. Barry Levinson is directing, and yet he brings in a cast of relative unknowns.
Exactly. Same thing, boss. You just went out.
Yeah. There's no volume on your big guy.
No?
Yeah, now I got you. Yeah, there you
go. Okay. Hold on a second. You guys carry on for a second.
Okay.
Sure. Yeah.
I
didn't recognize anybody from this cast at all. I've looked them up. I've recognized a couple names, but like I don't recognize them as like what I've seen on screen. The only thing I thought was kind of interesting is the young actor who plays Watson. He is the son of Brian Cox. And if you know who that actor is. And then
yes,
this kid who played Watson was really good. He fit the role perfectly.
Yep.
And I'm sure it had to do with a lot of the fact that who his dad was, because I'm pretty sure his dad was established by this time. I think he was in Manhunter, or was going to be in Manhunter.
Yeah.
So he definitely had the acting chops at that young age.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, we can, sir.
Okay, so I had to switch microphones out. That's fine. So you're saying that the guy because I liked the Watson character more than I liked the Holmes character.
Yes, his dad is Brian Cox.
Okay, and it's funny because I'm looking through the cast here, and hold on, let's take a look at it. You got Nicholas Rowe. I don't know that name. You've got Alan Cox, and I don't know Alan Cox in much of anything. Sophie Wood plays Elizabeth. She died very young.
Yep.
I know Anthony Higgins a lot. He's a pretty established character actor. But most of the other names, Freddie Jones, Susan Fleetwood. For a second, I thought the guy who played Lestrade was Toby Jones, but it's not. It's another actor called Roger Ashton Griffiths, although I've seen him in many roles. But a lot of people that are just not, A-list stars. And you would think of a Levinson film and a Steven Spielberg Presents, you would have gotten top shelf names, but you didn't. And they all do a hell of a job.
Yeah.
And I think that actually added to the movie. I mean, some interpretations of classic literary works like this, like, don't get me wrong, I like the Robert Downey Jr. version that they did a couple years ago.
Both copies.
Yeah. But, there were a lot of people I know who went in and said, oh, look, Iron Man's playing a detective. I'm like, no, but that's the way they approached it. Right. I think really going at this with unknowns didn't bring any anticipation except for the fact of seeing a Sherlock Holmes story, which I think may have added to it type deal. But then again, I'm second guessing on that. because I noticed the fact, like a lot of the character actors that were in it, some of the ones that, the one like who played Dudley, you mentioned, like I've seen them before.
Mm-hmm.
Again, playing character roles, they got really good quality character people to do it. I felt.
I think one of the advantages of not using an A-lister is that nobody overshadows the role.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Nobody overshadows the movie, so you're always looking to that person. Now, obviously, here you're always looking for Holmes to solve the crime, and then Watson to back him up. And sometimes Watson steps up and does his part, where Holmes might be faltering. But if you were going to cast an A-lister, it would have to be as Holmes. Because you can't have somebody outshining Sherlock Holmes. That's that's a little much. But yeah, everybody just does a fantastic job. It has a very lighthearted kind of feeling to it.
It feels like a Spielberg film. Even though he's just a producer, but it feels like you can tell he's involved. You know what I mean? It has that young kids going on an adventure feel.
Yeah, and it has an almost Harry Potter vibe kind of thing,
There's a tagline on the poster, which I've always liked. It said, "Before the life of adventure, it was an adventure of a lifetime." And that kind of what brought you, and I always liked that because it really is. It's just an adventure. It's one of those movies, sit back with a bowl of popcorn and enjoy.
Yeah.
Hey, Ryan.
Yeah. Hey, Ryan.
Hey, Ryan.
Yeah, I mean, like I was saying, it has been 40 years since I've seen it. And it starts off, I thought it started off a little on the nose, but then you're establishing the characters, and, I'm not 40 years younger anymore. So, I allowed for it to play out. And then once the mystery actually starts, I enjoyed it a great deal. Ryan, do you want to give a quick, summary of your feeling about the movie?
Yeah, I like it. It's very underrated. It's one of those movies that like I'll catch every once in a while, like once a year or a couple of years, once every couple of years. It's a lot of fun. Like you said, it's a great adventure movie. It kind of flies under the radar. It's a good kind of premise on like a what if scenario, how Watson and Holmes meet and all that kind of stuff. And it's a cool plot and a cool story. I think it's based on one of the Sherlock Holmes novel or short stories or novels, if I'm not mistaken.
I think at the end they say that it's not. It's just something that somebody sort of imaginative. At the end, there's like a paragraph that pops up at the end, the last scene, as Holmes drives away in the carriage, and it says, this isn't based on any of Doyle's works, but it's respectfully sort of created.
I thought the stuff with that creepy little pygmy thing, I thought that was in one of the other stories. That guy that shot the darts. I don't know. But I haven't read Holmes in a while. But this is a fun movie. It's a good adventure.
And this also, we got to give a lot of credit to Christopher Columbus, who wrote this.
Yeah.
Oh, did he?
Before he became Mrs. Director of Mrs. Doubtfire and the first two Harry Potter films. This was one of his
first movies that he Barry wrote. Levinson directed this.
Yeah.
Which
but it's I really do think he did a beautiful tribute to the two characters and that whole style, that whole feel.
Yeah.
The whole, setup. I mean, even, as we move back and forth and all over the place, kind of sort of with this, the whole setup where he, you set up the origin of why Holmes is always alone. He's in this, relationship that ends catastrophically, and he's just like he just kind of announces that's it for me, and so I thought, even watching it today, I'm like, wow, that was actually very well done. Not necessarily that I was heartbroken or something by these things happening, but the way that the character handled it, the way that the actor handled it, Nicholas Rowe, it was really well done. Good stuff.
No,
go ahead.
No, I'm just reading here some background on it, and Chris Columbus said he admitted he was very worried about offending some of the Holmes purists. He used the original Doyle stories as a guide. Okay.
Well, sure, yeah, of course.
And then-
You've got all the major players in there. I mean, you've got Lestrade,
Yeah.
who's sort
I
of
love
contemptuous
Lestrade.
of Holmes because Holmes is pretty much smarter than he is.
Oh, he always is.
Lestrade
Yeah.
has the position. Holmes is one of probably the most adaptable characters in all of English literature.
Absolutely.
I mean, going back to the Rathbone days, and then Jeremy Brett, looking at Cumberbatch. Who else played him? Ian McKellen played him.
Robert Downey Jr.
Yeah.
Christopher Plummer played him once with oh God, I'm trying to remember who it is. Who's the guy that was in 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea with Kirk Douglas?
James Mason.
James Mason was Watson.
And Michael Caine played Sherlock.
Yeah, with Ben Kingsley playing Watson.
And Without a Clue, yeah.
The one with Christopher Plummer's, they were trying to figure out who was the murderer of Jack the Ripper.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
That was like in the late 70s, early 80s. I mean, there's people who, Life magazine did a thing I remember 20 years ago saying there were some people who genuinely believed that Sherlock Holmes was a real person.
Huh.
Because of how many of the stories were being told and everything else. This is how powerful this literary figure is.
Yeah.
I learned a lot about Sherlock I took one of my favorite classes at Stockton was a detective fiction class. And we kind of started, Holmes was kind of the starting point. And I got the 2 volumes of the complete, works, the short stories and the novels. And, it's really cool. He's still, the character of Sherlock Holmes still receives fan mail to this day.
Yeah.
It's crazy. I mean, and the characters in the public domain, that's why you're allowed to do all these movies and stories and things like that about him. And you won't get slapped with a fine or royalties or anything.
All right, so let's get back to the movie.
Right.
I mean, I think one of the things I really liked was that, I mean, you got to see like what Holmes was like as a student. So, he solves that mystery from that jerk, the one kid who I forget what his name is, but he just plays sort of,
Dudley.
Dudley, who hides the trophy or something like that, and he ends up getting like Holmes expelled from school. But rather than, I just like the way that Holmes handled it. He's like, because Watson is like, I'm going to get him with a left and then an uppercut. And he's like, I've got it. Revenge is a dish best served cold. And then you see he's done something. I wondered where I dropped my science experiment, like right in your tea. And he's like, white is like Casper the Ghost. You'll be.
See, I like when we first met Holmes. Watson's going into the dorm. And Holmes is playing the violin, and he sucks at it so bad, and he's willing to destroy the violin. And Watson stops him. How long have you been playing? Oh, for a day or so. And he's just he's such a perfectionist. If he can't get it down within a fucking day, he wants to destroy the violin. And then we see how good he is with clues and stuff like that. He's trying to decipher where Watson's from, what's his first name, and he gets it almost perfect, but then at the end, after Watson corrects him, he's just like, I would have gotten it eventually, or that would have been my second choice,
That's actually one of the things I liked about the movies. They showed his
guys, carry on for a second. I'll be right back.
When they showed his mistakes early on, like when he was first talking to Lestrade, and he turned around and said, "You thought it was a German chancellor." And he goes, "I was close. It was the Russian chancellor." It was like, but that was also a tribute I always felt to Edgar Allan Poe, who created a character before Holmes, but did that same type of thinking. But wasn't always perfect.
That's what I like because it was they had the great relationship, because Holmes is very egotistical. He's this perfectionist, I'm better than you at everything, and rightfully so. But Watson was always that one guy to kind of bring him into reality.
Oh yeah,
and that's one thing that my English teacher always told me that's why Watson is the narrator of all. He's the narrator of this, but he's also the narrator of all the books because if Holmes told the story,
Mhm.
it'd be like 5 pages long. You know, I solved
There
it like
are-
this, I solved it like that,
That's
and just the
interesting,
chemistry
yeah.
between the two.
There's a few
The
stories.
act was great.
There's a few stories that Sir Arthur Conan Doyle either wrote or approved that Holmes was the narrator.
Okay.
Like Watson wasn't involved. It was towards later on in
Oh,
the whole
okay.
series of stories. And it was funny because it was like that. Holmes would go give through all the facts. He goes, "All right, I'll do it as if John did it." You know, and when I used to write some of the plays for Sherlock Holmes Weekend,
hmm
I didn't want to play Watson. I just wanted to write and direct it, but nobody wanted to take on Watson because I gave Watson the most lines. He was the narrator. He was the one, he was the connection to the audience. And that's what I liked about in this movie a lot too, is that you had the narration and it was just enough. It fed the audience and you get, it got rid of a lot of other quick summations. It went along. These two were great in these fencing
Yeah.
scenes.
I was under the impression watching this that this, because I didn't see it. Like I said, I haven't seen it in forever. That this was Professor. When they said Professor, I'm like, oh, I know what Professor that is, but it's not
Yeah.
Moriarty. It's just some psychopath.
Well, eventually he
plotting
becomes
this revenge.
Did you watch all the way through the credits, Mike?
Did you watch the
No.
credit?
Oh,
No,
go.
see, that's
you
the
watch
big
all the way through the
secret.
credits, you see the carriage go through, but then suddenly
Yeah.
halfway through the credits, the carriage changes to a different carriage, and
Yeah.
someone goes into a hotel and signs Moriarty
Moriarty
on the book, and it's the teacher.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
it's
what I
Wrath,
thought was the
yeah.
best.
Oh,
That's
sure.
what I thought
Now you tell me. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, actually, that's why I love
you got to
the fact
stay
that
after the credits.
Yeah, there was a post-credit scene in 1985. Who the fuck knew?
That's right. There
Well,
were
the
a
credits
few.
never ended, so you could have watched until they disappeared. The screen went black.
it was
so.
his enemy that trained him, which I thought was a nice touch.
And now you know why
Yeah.
Moriarty hates Holmes so much. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I liked the guy who played the professor.
Yes.
Solid
Right.
performance. What's his name again? Alan
Anthony Higgins.
Anthony Higgins.
Anthony Higgins.
Mhm.
So I mean,
He was
good
in
performance.
he was in a couple Hammer movies. I'm looking up. He was in some of the Hammer Dracula movies.
Okay.
He was in a lot of British stuff, you know.
Mhm.
I recognize his
Sherlock.
face.
He was in Sherlock Holmes Returns. It was a TV movie.
Yeah.
And
But I
think
remember-
he played Holmes in that.
All right. Well, let's stay on track with this one. So I mean, I didn't start to really fall into the movie until Wax Flatter got killed, her uncle.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, that part was sad.
And
Yeah.
you're like, because
I like that
you
guy.
can figure
Yeah.
out that something was going on with those darts,
Right.
Yeah.
that kind of thing. But then I didn't expect that the uncle was going to get killed, because the first person I
Yeah.
think is Mr. Mr. Bobster there in that restaurant.
Yeah.
The chicken, the guinea hen or whatever he's eating,
Yeah.
starts
Yeah.
attacking him
That's fucked
you're
up
like,
for a
what the
kid
hell is
movie, you know
this?
what I mean?
I forgot
Yeah.
about that one.
That's
I
very
remember-
80s, man. That's how those
I
kids'
remember the
movies
big
were.
scene. Is the uncle the one that thought he got killed by the little demon things?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
in
then-
the trinket shop.
Yeah, and then I remember of course, the big scene is the stained glass window, the night,
Mhm.
coming out of the
Mhm.
stained glass window.
Mhm.
That was like, I think one of the first uses of CG in a movie.
I think it's considered the first, the first actual
the actual
image
first.
CGI.
Okay.
See,
Yeah,
that's the thing with me. I mean, as much as I appreciate the quality of the performances, the quality of the animation or the quality of the special effects took me out a little bit. I'm not going to
Mhm.
lie. I was like, okay, it sort of destroyed the tension for me.
Mhm.
I don't know. Maybe if next time I watch it down the road and like have some memory of it, because I barely had any memory of it at all. I'll be like, okay, and more accepting of it. But here, and having not seen it in forever, I walked into the movie with expectations. And
Right.
so when the murder started to happen, I was interested that the characters were getting knocked off, but it almost had like a Clash of the Titans kind of feel in
Mhm.
terms of the effects. And
Stop
I was just
motion,
like,
yeah.
oh,
Yeah.
okay, that's that's a little okay. That
Well,
honestly
that
took me
was
out a little bit.
kind of the next step after stop motion was that. I mean, but-
Yeah.
I kind of chalk it up, Mike, when you watch like the old Dracula movies with Bela Lugosi or the old Wolfman movies with Lon Chaney, and you see the slow changing. It still takes me out a little bit because what you can do today, but I took it for
Yeah.
as it was at the time.
See, I would have
Yeah.
no problem watching Cheney or Lugosi or Karloff, but for some reason, maybe it's
Yeah.
like I said, if I haven't seen it in 40 years, so
Yeah,
it
I
took
think
me
I
out
think
a
it's
little bit.
personal taste too. I mean, what it comes down to.
Well, but one of the things that I thought was interesting about it was the hallucination of Holmes.
Yeah.
And it's this
Yeah.
very small scene where you can see that, he sort of brought some sort of disaster or shame upon his family because I
Right.
guess in his inquisitiveness, he's discovered something about his father that's caused the family a lot of pain. And I thought that
Right.
that was a really interesting take that, this hyper keen sense of perception is sort of done without any thought or empathy.
Yeah.
And I saw that once in Downey's interpretation where he sort of rips on Watson's fiance and accuses her of being like a floozy. And it
Yeah.
turns out that her fiance was like killed.
Yeah.
And she like stands up and slaps him in the face like he gets it wrong. Like the part that would hold back on something like that just isn't in him. It's everything is concrete, everything is black and white. And so, the fact that we never hear anything about Holmes' family or like his mother, we know about his brother Mycroft, but we never hear anything about his mother or his father, that they address that in just a very small way. I thought was a really quality addition to the film.
I think it also adds, Mike, to when the professor kept on saying you're letting your emotions rule your actions. He was trying to get him to get rid of the emotions and everything else. But then when you saw that scene, you see what would happen if you do get rid of your emotions to just become all intellect, without having that filter or, to not always, try to get the answer right.
Yeah, his father's furious, his mother's in tears, and he's just
That was that, and
I didn't mean it. I didn't
beautiful
mean it,
scene.
Yeah,
It was a beautiful scene that tore up, the other two had like physical scary attacks, or Watson's was kind of comical.
Yeah.
His was more cerebral, and it really was devastating.
Yeah, it was pretty funny that Watson was attacked with pastries.
Yeah.
He just and then he finds the French pastry afterwards. He like immediately after this hallucination, the first thing he's doing is getting another French pastry. I have nothing to say to you, and I assume that you have nothing to say to me. It's just, the guy who plays Watson is really. I think he kind of steals the show in this. Actually, he's really, really good. What did you think of the Elizabeth character?
I liked her. I liked. I think they had a really good chemistry. Her and the actor who played Holmes. You bought their love, and one of my favorite lines is, it's after she's shot and she eventually dies. One of my favorite lines from the actor who plays Holmes is at the very end. He grabs that sword. Holmes, where are you going? I'm going to get him. You know what I mean? That's all it is. It's one simple line. You knew what he meant. It wasn't some over-the-top superhero line. It was just full of rage. And again, I believed their love story.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I thought they worked very well together.
I think also her character to the story built so much of his background that we know of him now. Before that he was willing to be in love, or as he said, what do you wish for? I wish not to be alone. But then you realize that after what they went through, you knew he was going to be alone. Like he said, he goes, I'm going to be alone. Without having to hear it through a narration, you saw it and you know why. You've the depth of his pain now. I really thought she was a very good character. It wasn't a throwaway part either. Right. I really thought it kind of balanced him out well.
I looked at it as a high school kind of relationship, for that time, like a youthful kind of love, a child's love. children, or high schoolers, and I like that they didn't try to make it or filter it through an adult lens. It was very much done the way kids would do it. It's secret. You're kind of defying adults. With mixed results. So on and so forth. It was, I thought it was handled very well.
Yeah, it's just a very sweet little love story. And again, after he loses her, it's subtle. You know what I mean? Why is he leaving? Well, he looks up to the window that he used to look at her, and he says, "Too many memories," or something like that. And it's just, again, one line, and you get the point.
When she says to him, because it's such a cliche line, and it could have been such a, when he says, "We will meet again in another world, a better world," and she says, "And you will be late, as always."
Mm-hmm.
And I loved that because that was them. You couldn't have. That's, well, like I said earlier, when I said I cried where I cried, that's where I cried. I wiped tears away from my eye because you saw that, and it just was like, God damn it.
And if you think about it, that's the only time he ever really gets frazzled is when he's trying to figure out a way to save her.
Right.
You know what I mean? The emotions get him too much. He doesn't know how to fix this situation is when she's the one in peril. So again, it's just all this stuff worked between the two of them.
Yeah.
What did you think of the I guess the mystery itself? I mean, the mystery itself was okay. The origin story of Moriarty, he's kind of this vengeful kid going back to like the British Museum, pillaging or completely destroying villages, so on and so forth. Not the greatest origin story, but it was sufficient. It was sufficient for the purpose.
When we're already watching a man's meal attack him and stained glass windows shooting out and gargoyles, it fits the tone of the movie. I could run with it.
It's a good movie, but it's not. It's not like Lawrence of Arabia or something like that, or
no, it's not. I don't think it's supposed to be.
It's not trying.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. I don't think it's.
The vibe I got from it. No, we talked about it. It's an adventure movie. The vibe I got from it was like it definitely had kind of that old, like pulpy kind of like King Solomon's Mines, like Henry Rider Haggard kind of stuff.
Alan Quatermain.
Quatermain kind of stuff. That kind of late 1800s, early 1900s pulpy adventure stuff. It was more akin to that, I thought, than a traditional Holmes mystery. But
and it
I enjoyed that aspect of it.
And it had some of the tropes that were also in it, like the Egyptian theme.
Yeah.
That was running through, which was a big thing because they were just discovering mummies at the time.
Yeah.
And that writing was brought in as well. I mean, they really didn't, it may have been glossed over a little bit. They could have gone a little bit deeper, but it wasn't, they really felt like I said before, a very nice tribute to what a Sherlock Holmes story was.
Oh, yeah.
Just putting it with younger characters.
Yeah.
Made a Sherlock Holmes story that's accessible to adults, but I think in the end, it's generally made for a younger audience.
Yeah,
I agree.
It doesn't have the sophistication of some of the older things, or one of the stories we would dig out of this, or something. It doesn't have that. That's not what it is. But it is,
Victorian England Goonies.
Basically, it's kind of like Goonies.
Well, like Eric or Ryan could watch it with one of their kids one day.
Oh, absolutely.
You could sit down and watch it, and it would be enjoyable, and it's wholesome, and it's lighthearted, and it's got a sort of Harry Potter vibe. The hero's journey, that sort of thing going on, and it ends on a reasonably upbeat note because the end of this movie, we understand. And even me watching it back in 85, understood that this was the end of the movie was sort of the beginning. It's going to be, decades and decades more of, Holmes mysteries, and they're going to be doing a lot more. It would be, although I don't know I think people are still waiting for another Downey film, and I would watch it if
I hope there is.
I actually just read that the what's his name? The director,
Guy Ritchie.
Guy Ritchie turned around and said he's got them both together. The script is done. They're going to start in about 6 months.
Oh, good.
I'm ready. I'm ready for it.
Sherlock Holmes.
Because
Yeah,
I
and
really
playing them
enjoyed the
over.
first one. I really
Yeah.
enjoyed the first one. The second one was okay. Like I
Third
thought they jumped into that particular story too fast. The one where he goes over the waterfall and stuff. That I thought should have been introduced maybe later. You know,
but I thought Harris did a great Moriarty.
oh,
Yeah.
he was great. I don't
Yeah, he
mind
was great.
I don't mind them introducing Moriarty, but that whole thing of him, and them fighting and falling over I thought that was like too quick. Like you just introduced him and now
it's not the MCU. You're not going to get 12 movies out of it.
yeah, I understand that, but
you're not gonna get 12.
yeah.
I'll give it time.
So, I mean, what else? I mean, what other points would you like to bring up?
You know what else freaked
Is
me
there
out
anything
was
about
that
this? What? Oh, yeah, go ahead.
what freaked me out was the nurse, Mrs. Dribb, when she took her hair off and was like,
oh,
bald. That freaked me out because she was one of like the cultists and stuff. Yeah.
It was his sister. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I love the sets in this.
Oh, yeah.
The Victorian villages, the actual costumes, when they went to the thing where it was the false pyramid and everything else, the attention to detail was just enough to put you right in the right mood type deal.
What freaked me out was seeing that one unnamed girl get burned alive with all that wax.
Oh, yeah.
You're like, what the fuck is this? I'm like, I just watched it this afternoon.
It kind of had some horror coming out of nowhere a little bit, like you weren't expecting that. Like it was like when the guy got killed by the little demon things or so, he thought that was when I was pretty little when I saw that. I was like, whoa, that was kind of hardcore for me. But back then,
really think it was Spielberg's version of you're going to take Temple of Doom and like it.
Yeah,
right.
I like Temple of Doom.
It was good. I mean,
that was the type of stuff you could get in the 80s. The 80s had some rough material. I mean, they took risks back then.
Yeah,
filmmakers were encouraging of each other to take risks, to push the envelope, to see what you could get. And in many ways, we got a lot of shit, but also we got some real diamonds.
You also have the
high quality stuff out there.
And this was 85.
Yeah.
And it was a year before they just came out with PG-13.
Yeah.
I mean, I mentioned Temple of Doom, but that was the first movie that had it to give you a little more of an edge above a PG movie.
Temple of Doom is what caused it. Temple of Doom was PG. Yeah, PG-13 wasn't out yet until 85.
No, they got it. They got that movie because
I believe, if I'm not mistaken, the first PG-13 movie, at least the first PG-13 Disney movie, was The Black Cauldron. That was, I believe, the first PG-13 movie. If I'm not, I could be wrong. But
I remember when Temple of Doom came out, Spielberg was talking about they want him to tone it down, and he said, I couldn't.
Yeah, yeah.
And that was the reason, because when you had that, you could really experiment with it. This was one of the first movies they were experimenting with it.
Yeah, yeah.
It was a little more than a PG film, but not so much as an R.
Hold on, quick trivia. Everybody's wrong. I'm going to give everybody 30 seconds to pick a movie without looking. You can't look on your screens or Google it up. What was the first PG-13 movie?
In 85?
I'm not saying when it was. I'm saying what was the first PG-13 movie?
Oh, I couldn't
Eric,
tell
you're
you,
up.
dude. I pass. I couldn't tell you.
Pass? John?
I'm going to stick with the Temple of Doom.
All right. Ryan?
Honestly, I don't know.
Red Dawn.
Really?
I never saw that.
I knew I was going to get that
Dawn.
one. You've never seen the original Red Dawn?
I thought Red Dawn was rated R.
No, I'm looking at it here on Grok. The first PG-13 movie was Red Dawn, released on August 10th, 1984. The PG-13 rating was introduced by the MPAA on July 1st of 84 in response to concerns about violent content in films like Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom and Gremlins, which were rated PG-13 but deemed too intense for younger audiences. Red Dawn, a war film about a Soviet invasion of the U.S., was the first to carry the new rating. Red Dawn is a fucked up movie.
Yes, it is. If you look at it, it really is.
Yeah. Have you seen it, Eric?
I saw it once a long time ago, and it's
I
one of those
watched
it
movies where I
recently.
wasn't in the mood for it.
Didn't they
I
Mhm.
watched
remake
it
it?
recently, like the first time again, like 40 years. And I'm
Yeah.
like, this is fucked up. I'm like, holy
Hmm.
shit. Like,
It
I didn't
really is.
realize,
The Powers Booth was great.
Powers Booth was
Oh, is
great.
he in
Yeah.
that? That's
Booth was
cool.
great in that movie.
Yeah.
I like Powers Booth. Yeah,
Yeah.
man.
Yeah, he's great in that. What was it? Ron O'Neill is the
Yep.
is the
Oh,
Cuban
jeez.
the
Yeah,
Cuban
Superfly.
like
Yeah.
commander, like from the Soviet Union. Yeah, a lot of good people. Who's
Oh.
that?
Isn't Patrick Swayze in that?
Mhm.
Swayze's in it.
Jennifer
Charlie
Grey was in
Sheen.
it.
Yeah, Jennifer Grey, Leah Thompson.
Yeah.
See Thomas
Every
Howell.
80s actor, pretty
Thomas
much.
Howell. Yeah. So
Absolutely.
I mean, they actually had to create a whole rating system because of how hard
Yeah.
these filmmakers were pushing the envelope. I wish we were getting more frequently things like that today, but this
Well,
will
now
probably it comes and goes in waves.
Well, now
Absolutely.
it's very rare to have an R movie because the movies, the producers don't believe R movies sell as well. So
Yeah.
that's why we rarely
You
have
know-
R movies anymore.
You know what's happened is that a lot of these shows have gone to streaming.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Like
Right.
I'm watching a show right now directed. It's a whole series directed by Guy Ritchie called Mobland. It's on Paramount
Yeah.
Plus. And it's
Okay.
got Tom Hardy, who's like a fixer for the mob.
Mhm.
And the
Mhm.
mob boss is played by Piers Brosnan. And
cool.
Helen Mirren is his
Mhm.
psychotic wife, who
Mhm.
she's almost like a Joker. She just
Yeah.
does shit. It's just random. She's like not stable. And I mean, that's a hard R,
Yeah.
violent
Yeah.
series. So a lot of you've got all A-list people right there, three of the top, in
Mhm.
Hollywood, making these sorts of things. So I can go and watch Long Legs or something like that. That's R-rated, but a lot of the like longer stuff is turned into series. It's turned into series.
Exactly.
And they're pretty good. They're pretty good.
They also get to, when they take them to that R rating and turn them into a series, they can expand on the story as long as the story's there.
Yeah.
Like you were mentioning Long Legs. I mean, that was definitely an independent film, but god damn it, it was a great independent R film.
Yeah.
Who took a chance?
Yeah.
But
Type
that's the
deal.
thing now. The R films now are the independent films, or like those directors who will get like a free pass, like Tarantino. His movies are always going to be R rated. Certain like Scorsese, these guys, they'll they get a pass with the R movies because I don't know why. Maybe because their movies are considered art. I don't know what the difference is, but it seems to me like
they make a lot of money.
yeah, but you know what I'm saying? Like a lot of the studios don't like R movies because they don't think it's going to make a lot of money. But like I said, these guys get a pass. So I mean, I don't know what this.
Yeah, Brian, but they also have a record. I mean,
Yeah.
Tarantino has a record of making money on the R
yeah.
film.
Mhm.
Scorsese has that too. A lot of
Yeah.
newer directors don't want to take that chance. In the 80s,
Yeah.
going back to what Michael was saying before, they took chances and stuff.
Oh,
like that.
absolutely, yeah.
I mean, look at
I honestly don't think if we had a PG-13 rating, I mean, we were just talking about the stained glass mirror of the armor, the first CGI.
Yeah.
They wouldn't have taken a chance with that. They wouldn't have taken a chance with that back. If
they wouldn't have taken a chance with Molaram pulling the guy's heart out of his chest.
Exactly. It was stuff like that they had the opportunity to take that chance with a movie like this, which is what I think works again for this movie because it was also the storyline going back to the love story. Even it took it a little past like the holding of the hands and a quick kiss. You saw the emotional depth that was added to the characters.
All right. Is there any other part of this film that you would like to discuss that we have not covered?
Not really. I mean, I like how it's good for new audiences that haven't read the book. Like you said, like if me or Ryan sat one of our kids down, they don't have to know the stories. But it is also kind of cool for fans of it. You get to see where he gets his hat. You get to see where he gets the pipe. Where he gets his coat. You know what I mean? Skin of a leopard. You know what I mean? I like how he said that. He's taking that as a trophy type of thing. So I like how there's a little bit of everything, and
Mm-hmm.
again, like we said, the chemistry between the actors who play Holmes and Watson is really really
Mm-hmm.
good, and I think it's underrated just how good they have of
Yeah.
a chemistry with each other. They play off each other. You got the very very serious Holmes, and then you got the wimpy kind of Watson. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
And it's an odd couple type of relationship that
Yeah.
works.
Yeah, it's
And
always weird to me in the Holmes series that Watson is the war veteran, but
Mhm.
Holmes is the one who almost always ends up getting in all the fights.
Mhm.
You know,
Yeah.
although
Yeah.
Watson is a doctor. He's a doctor. He's not.
Mhm.
He wasn't a combat soldier or anything like that. But yeah, I
But
mean,
he
even
was
back to the
wounded.
Jeremy Brett. Jeremy Brett was the boxing. Here we've got fencing. Robert Downey Jr. Would
Mhm.
I thought that those were
That's a
well
French
choreographed
style.
fight scenes.
Yeah, it's a French style. If you look at Sherlock Holmes, one of the reasons why he wore a scarf in the book, they talk about there's weights at the end of his scarf that he used to swing things around. These were genuinely, I don't want to say action adventure books, but they really were.
Oh yeah.
And that's what I think that I'll stop. Sorry, I'm going to go off on a tangent. That's not the movie.
Okay.
On a
All
side
right.
note, Michael, though, the actor who played Holmes, there's a series on YouTube where he played Sherlock Holmes back in 2015.
Yes,
Mhm.
I just saw that.
Yeah.
He's in Young Sherlock with, or he's in Mr. Holmes with Ian McKellen. I was just looking at his
Well,
acting credits, and
yeah.
he plays Sherlock in that too.
That's
When
the
I was
one where Holmes is starting to develop dementia.
yeah,
when I,
yeah. I want
when
to
I
see
was
that.
well,
Yeah.
it's not just that. There's series where he plays Sherlock Holmes in his 50s.
Oh,
Okay.
That
okay.
same actor, yeah. When
That's
I
neat.
was writing the shows for the Sherlock Holmes weekend, an actress pointed it out to me, and it's funny because it's him without his hair. He lost a lot of his hair, so it's really cropped short. But they're
Mhm.
actually very good.
Okay.
All right. All right. Anything else?
Mm-mm.
Start to wrap this up.
Yes, sir.
All right. Let's get to the part of the stream where we rate the film. This channel has a rating system that goes from 0 to 5 up by halves. So 0, 0.5, 1, 1.5, all the way to 5. So 0, for example, would be I'd rather go without toothpaste for the rest of my life rather than watch this film again, all the way to 5, which is this is the journey, this is the destination, this is why I watch films in the first place. Eric, what would you give Barry Levinson's young Sherlock Holmes?
I think I'll give it a 3.5. For like the
Okay.
rating scale we do on this show. The three leads I still think have great chemistry with each other. I do really like the villain. A lot of the shit is over the top, but again, it's Spielberg. You know what I mean? You know what you're getting. Um, it's got its cheesy moments. I think it's definitely geared more towards children or hardcore fans of the series of books. But it's still, in my opinion, I could put it in, and it's a fun ride from beginning to end. I think 3.5 is fair.
Okay. John, what do you got?
I'm giving it an endearing 4.
Okay.
Like I said, it really brought me back to a lot of different stuff that I enjoy and the reasons why I, used to write the plays. And it's a wonderful jump off point to get you introduced to this great character.
Okay. All right. Sounds good. Ryan, what do you got for us?
I'd probably give it like a 3.
Okay.
And again, I haven't seen it in a long time. I just saw it again, before we did this. But it I give it a 3. It holds up for what it is. I still enjoy it. It's good adventure. It's pretty much what I expected from the last time I saw it, which was a long time ago. Nothing really changed. But it's a good old adventure movie, and yeah, I mean that's mine. So 3.
Okay. I'm going to go with a 3.
Mhm.
I think that it is good entertainment. I think
Yeah,
it's a good piece of
exactly.
entertainment. Um, like I said, growing up on the Jeremy Brett series, watching them after school along with Dark Shadows,
That was the best,
those were the
Yeah.
absolute best. And
Yep.
so when this hit in '85, I was like, I'm going to see this. I think I was 15, and it was great. It was great. Now watching it 40 years later, I understand. Yeah, it's clearly geared for a younger audience, but I think they do a good job. I was a little taken out again by the effects, and it's not the greatest story of all time. So I can't pretend that it is, but it does a passable job, and it's respectful to the source material. So I would encourage people to watch it. It's there on Pluto TV. If you have the opportunity, go see this film. I'm proud to own a copy of it. I mean, I don't know that I'm going to be watching it every other day, but it's a good flick. It's a good flick, and it brings you back to. I hate to sound corny, but it brings you back to a simpler time. 1985. If it wasn't simpler, it seems simpler because it was 40 years ago. So
yeah.
Eric, plug something.
Excuse me. Hey, Internet. Eric here is the YouTube channel. Every month this year, I have a specific theme. This is Animated April. So unless I have a live stream planned, I'm discussing nothing but movies with animation. So they can be full-on animation. They could be a mixture of live action and animation, stop motion.
I love animated film.
So far, I've only discussed the Ralph Bakshi movie Cool World. It does not hold up. I'll give you a spoiler on that.
I never saw it.
But I do plan on throwing in some Don Bluth films. My daughter's going to help me with some stuff. Some Don Bluth films.
That's cool.
We are definitely discussing Roger Rabbit. I'm going to rewatch for the first time since childhood the animated Hobbit movie that I remember loving. I know you guys know what that one is. And some other stuff, maybe a couple Disney movies that she wants to watch thrown in there. But that's the plan for March. In May, I'm going to do Marvel movies that are not MCU. I kind of stole the idea from Mike that we did last year. But I plan on, discussing like X-Men and a couple of ones that no one talks about, like maybe a Fantastic Four or two.
Wow.
We had fun talking about those.
Yeah, it was nice talking about Marvel movies that, aren't like thrown in your face for the last 10 goddamn years. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Like it was great talking about like Ghost Rider, Spirit of Vengeance.
Yeah.
Like a Punisher Warzone. Yeah.
It's funny with that you mentioned the Hobbit animated film. I showed that in my fantasy literature class this year, and I hadn't seen it like in years. So I was like, this is pretty crazy. I like this movie.
Yeah.
It's cool, man.
Rankin Bass were very good.
I love the animation. That's cool.
These sound great, Eric.
Okay.
Yeah.
John, what do you got? Anything?
3 weeks from this Saturday, I will be doing a live stage reading of a film script called Derby Day. At
is that Bill's thing? Is that Bill Sterritt's thing?
Yeah, Bill Sterritt's thing. At Studio Space, and it's going to be live on Zoom. Like we did the one in February. When I get more information, if you can't even see it live, you can pick it up later on and watch it on Zoom because they're recording it and having it so people can pick it up and record it. When I get more info, I'll send it to you, Mike.
Nice.
Okay, sounds good. Ryan, anything?
Well, I'm just coming off a successful run at the Gateway Playhouse of The Man Who Came to Dinner. All 3 sold out shows. So I'm just kind of decompressing from that. And it's crazy how fast it all goes. And then, we had great turnout, great cast, fun. And I'm just kind of chilling now. I don't really have anything lined up. I might see some shows, but I'm not going to really be involved in any in the immediate future. Maybe down the line, I'll have something else going on, but you know what? I did my thing and I'm very proud of the end result. We had a great show, great turnout. So yeah.
Good. All right. For this channel, we will be back next week. I went through something I rarely do. Every once in a while I'll do it. I'll just pull like a random list of films off of channels that everybody can access. Because sometimes I'll pull things that, might cost a couple of bucks here or there. But then I look through some of the free channels and they're actually quite a lot of movies that are available. So next week we're going to be back with David Fincher's Zodiac, which is a film that I've had on my radar for a very long time. I've wanted to cover it on this channel. It hasn't been available on the streaming services that would make it, available to everyone. We'll be back next week with that. I've got a good list of movies here. Hunt for Red October, maybe Nolan's Memento, some of the older ones like Gorky Park, maybe some more, thriller kind of films. Take a little break from the horror and get into some more concrete filmmaking, which I'm enjoying talking about a lot. We had a good time with the Hunter S. Thompsons that we were talking about, Chocolat that we discussed, the world's fastest Indian. There's just an endless resource of film out there that you can just tap into forever.
I'm definitely in. If you're still planning on doing 12 Angry Men, I'm definitely in on that one.
We will get to it. We will get to it. There's also great films that I'm looking at on Tubi, like Antoine Fuqua's The Equalizer with Denzel Washington.
Oh yeah,
never seen it. I'll be in for that one.
No, I've never seen that.
In fact, after Zodiac, we may go into some Antoine Fuqua and Denzel Washington because how do you beat Denzel Washington?
Yeah,
how do you?
Okay. My thanks to Eric from Hey Internet Eric here. My thanks to John K. Alvarez, who is Sherlock's younger brother, and my thanks to D. Ryan Daly. All right, everybody. We will see you all in the next video. All right, take care, everyone. God bless you.
Yeah.
Good night. Hey, everybody. This is the American Werewolf. Thanks for stopping by. Like the video, leave a comment, subscribe to the channel, hit that notification button. Thank you.